Hi, guys. Hello, hello. Welcome back. All right, so let's jump on into this. Here we go. All right, so we are starting out Sag with just kind of an anything goes kind of storyline on this one. We've got the Five of Wands in the reverse. It looks like someone's come to a conclusion. Now, this could be Sag, or Sag could have been dealing with a fellow fire sign. Ooh, someone has realized now. See, I think this is Sag, who's come to the conclusion that it's only causing me grief to deal with someone who can't seem to make a decision. They're trapped, they're stuck, they're in toxic energy. I need to not be stuck with them in any toxic energy. We got a Knight of Pentacles sideways. We got the Ten of Cups upright. I feel like excuse me, I just did Capricorn, so forgive me that I want to say Capricorn. We do have Capricorn here, though, so it could be that Capricorn is a part of this story. By the way, Capricorn had a very interesting storyline. This Sag story could potentially have a connection to that Capricorn storyline. But anyway, moving on. This feels like Sag has hit that moment of clarity where they said, you know what? I already know that waiting on someone to get their brave on, to free themselves from something toxic, that there's no reason for them to be stuck in it. The birdcage door is open, but it's making me sad to wait on someone who's stuck and toxic. And it's been a long time already, and I really want a Ten of Cups. So I think this is Sag having that moment where they know that their future doesn't really have this person in it, but their future actually feels lighter and brighter because they feel pretty confident about this choice that they're making now. Hanged Man in the reverse. The waiting game is over. Sag waited a really long time for a person who stayed really stuck. Can we take a quick look at them? They could have been a Capricorn. We got Temperance in the reverse. We've got Eight of Cups in the reverse. Six of Coins upright. And that's Temperance in the reverse there. I saw that one first. Here's the thing. They will be coming back in, but they'll still have, in this case, that gremlin on their back. It's not even a monkey. It's a gremlin on their back. This person could have like Napoleon syndrome, by the way. They may feel like they're really powerful or want to be really powerful, but they're always hindered or hampered, possibly by their own grandiose thoughts of who they're supposed to be, how it's supposed to be. Maybe they think they've got to be everybody's hero, and so they can't ever just commit to like being in a relationship. It feels like this person gives too much in too many different directions, trying to be too many things for too many different people. And it's costing them the relationship, I think. Sorry, my nose is itching. It's costing them the relationship with Sagittarius, even though they intend on coming back with that Eight of Cups in the reverse. The problem is, I don't think that they're coming back different. I feel like they'll come back in and maybe even act like, I'm ready to give to you, Sagittarius. And they could be a little pompous. They could be somebody who blows their own little horn, toots their own little horn a little bit, wants to act like, well, isn't it great that I've been, giving in so many different directions, and I'm so generous with my time, with my energy. This could be somebody who always has a way to say, like, okay, please forgive me for what I'm about to say. I'm trying to make a point here. I'm not trying to be rude, but this might come out wrong. I'll probably regret using this as an analogy. But sometimes when people who mean really well go out and they try to give, but then it's like they can always say, well, I was busy volunteering at this or that, and that's why I wasn't there to be in a relationship with you, because see, I was doing this altruistic, sacrificing of myself, which really, they feel really good about themselves for doing it. So it's not really a sacrifice if you actually are puffing yourself up over it. But it also means that it's almost like Sag can't ever come back at them and say, well, why weren't you there for me? And it's like, because Sag would look like a jerk if they're trying to say, I really needed you here, but instead you were out giving to everybody else. Yes, well, I mean, Sag, what would you want me to not help everybody else? And Sag is kind of like, well, I'd like you to be there for me. But here's the thing. that is their own toxic trait. Maybe this is how they get their, they need the good girl, good boy pats. They don't know that that's what they need. That's where the imbalance is. And they may be trying to pin it on Sag. Like Sag just doesn't understand. I was out saving the world and ignoring Sag. Sag is the problem. Sag should be, thrilled when I come back in and I'm ready to give to them after I've also given to everybody else. I don't think Sag is thrilled at all. I think Sag has been neglected. And look, the reason I'm taking Saggy's side on this, I have to say that I am, because I've read it in a kind of biased way, but it's because of the way the cards came out. But it's also because it feels like this person is using one of those arguments that is really tough to combat, because you'll look like a jerk if you do stand up for yourself because, hey, they were out doing something wonderful. So isn't Sag the greedy person then who wants this person to actually have considered them in the equation of all the people that they give to? Shouldn't Sag have been some kind of a priority? And it's like, oh, wow. So Sag just gets to, demand so much. And it's almost like Sag could be getting gaslit in this. And I don't like it, because I personally, I see this like that they don't have any business telling Sag that Sag is supposed to just put their life on hold while they do more important stuff first. Because, it actually brings glory to them. That's what the toxic energy is. But this is such a delicate thing to try to describe. But Sag has chewed on this, thought about it, and they've come to the same conclusion. Like, this grieves me. It makes me so sad, because they don't see anything wrong with their behavior. But the truth is, they're afraid to not be everything to everyone. And I'm the last person on the list, but I want a partner that I build with. And they're not the person. And I don't have to be mad at them. I don't have to say that they're a villain. But I'm not going to be called a villain just because I would want equality between myself and a partner. I gave them plenty of time to go out and help other people. But honestly, they're still going to come back into me. The same situation. I'm always going to be last on the list while they go out and get their good boy, good girl pats on the head for going out doing things for other people. Sorry, I don't want that in a partner. That's great. They're a wonderful helper to everybody else, but I want a partner that I'm building a stable, solid, world with. And I just don't think that Sag has to feel guilty about that. This feels very understandable, very fair. Maybe this person really has a role that they prefer to play with, not one-on-one partnerships, but with, groups of people. And that's fine. Maybe that's where their life path takes them. So I don't think anybody has to be a villain in this story. That's the crux of it. So where does Capricorn go for? Sorry, I keep wanting to say Capricorn again. Where does Sag go from here? Temperance upright. This is wonderful because Sag is in their strongest power. This is them saying, I know that I'm not being rude or greedy or demanding. I have a right to be who I am, and they have every right to choose the path that they choose. But I'm not going to come in last in somebody's life and call it a partnership. So I can release them with love. It was making me really sad, but now I'm not sad anymore. Now I actually feel like I'm making the right choice for myself. So Sag feels more like themselves. I love the fact that they're not getting gaslit, and they may have been a little gaslit. That I didn't love that. Or if when this person comes back in, they could try a little bit of gaslighting. And I think that Sag will be impervious to this. 9 of Cups is in the reverse. Definitely Sag is not somebody who's just out there only thinking about themselves. In fact, if anything, I think Sag has a really healthy balance with give and take. They're not all about number one. They're not selfish. This is not a Sag who's just like, I'm going to go get mine. Screw all y'all. They don't do that. This is a Sag who does have good boundaries, though, with the Queen of Swords. And I think after dealing with a person like this who didn't have boundaries, a person who needed other people to like them, see them as the person, like, I feel like this person of the past, they would have been like making dinner plans with Sag. And if anybody else, even like a practically perfect stranger, showed up and said, oh, I'm trying to find a place, this person would say, well, I was about to have dinner with my Sag. They planned a romantic, evening with me, but why don't I hop in my car and I'll escort you? You can follow me and I'll lead you, an hour and 15 minutes across town to help you make sure that you get to that location so that everybody thinks this person's really great. Like that's a kind of example of like toxic over giving for the good girl, the good boy pats on the head that I see in this. And that's where Sag doesn't have those extremes. I think they have good boundaries of caring about other people, being generous, being kind, being helpful, but not going banana pants and going so far to the extreme, because I don't see Sag needing to help people for the reward. I see them being like straightforward, honest, kind, and reasonable. And I think I think this is nice to have Sag like getting back to that space in their head and heart where it's like, you know what? My life makes more sense again. Like there has to be a reasonable and rational amount of care and giving toward others. But and I never had any issues with that until I met this person. And then it was like, whoa, this person is a toxic overgiver. And they can't seem to stop. I wonder if this person always had to please people in their lives. This could have been a divine masculine who had a very oppressive family member or somebody that raised them where they always had to do so much extra, maybe like a parent who, got their jollies off of having everyone say, oh my God, your son or daughter, they were so giving. Wow, they just do anything. Almost like this parent wanted to be like, I win for having the most dutiful child. And that might have been impressed upon them. I have to be dutiful to everybody to please, whatever that authority figure is. That's what I mean when I say toxic over giving. And it was sad. I think it was sad, but I actually feel sad for them, for this person that Sag is like, I can't give to them anymore because they're always going to do this until they figure out how to heal themselves. So as Sag moves forward, we do see a future up ahead. We see a lot of transformation. I think maybe Sag met this person to contemplate this. This is kind of a fascinating like look at why somebody who is a really good person could also be impossible to be in a relationship with, and why somebody who wants to give, but they give so much and not in the right places that they destroy a relationship. And they actually kind of disrespect the partner that they could have had. Sag is kind of getting the short end of the stick in this story, right? And they have to stand up for themselves and say, I can't accept your breadcrumbs, even though I can see that you have a generous heart, but you keep needing to give to everybody with no boundaries. It doesn't work. That is like deep contemplation. And I think that that's helping our Sagittarius to like transform their thoughts. And it will change how they interact with others from here on out. Because I think Sag has a really great, they've restored their balance in themselves. They realize that they have nice, healthy boundaries with how they give, how they're generous, but not to toxic levels. And then with this Page of Pentacles, it's like it may change the way Sag communicates with people from here on out. It may change the way Sag like patiently gets to know who somebody is so that they can better understand what motivates people. I think that their next romance is going to move a little slower perhaps than this one did. Ace of Cups, what the number one takeaway message from this was, Sag has learned that sometimes this is how it manifests when somebody doesn't love themselves enough yet, or wasn't allowed to learn to love themselves. This is how it shows up. And I just think that that's great for Sag to be able to see it and understand it in other people so that they can either sleuth out who they'll be in a partnership with, because they do need a partner who loves themselves as much as Sag does. Remember, Sag is looking for the 10 of Cups in this story. Do we have a final message here? King of Swords, Queen of Cups. Sag is definitely going to be finding their forever person, somebody who can match him with, they too have like personal respect for themselves. They too have found healthy balances in loving, giving, expressing, sharing. This is good boundaries, good emotional expectations, good emotion and communication about emotions. I think that Sag is headed for these lessons are really going to help them to find a partner who's actually in the same like level of healed energy, mature energy, somebody who's worked through, some of those deeper self wounds or, inner wounds, like lacking self love. Sag's destiny is not to be with somebody who hasn't learned self love yet. They're going to end up with somebody who does love themselves. That's really wonderful to see that the energy shift. So this was a very useful lesson that Sag has learned. All right, my baby is awake. I can hear him huffing. Yeah. Hi, baby. Hi. How you doing, kiddo? Okay, so I'm going to disappear for a bit. I'll be back later. Guys, lots of love. Thank you so much for being here. I'm coming, Aries. Bye, guys.